The following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WSTU, its staff, management, and owners are not responsible for the content. Advisory services offered through Blackridge Asset Management, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Blackridge Asset Management is a separate and independent entity from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Member, FINRA, SIPC. And now, today with Denny, here's Denny Artachi.
Good morning. Another beautiful day in South Florida. It never gets old, as I say. And with me today, my partner in crime as usual, Mr. Evan Nine.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great.
I like the bright green shirt.
Yeah? Huh?
I like that.
That's pretty
I like
good.
that. Looks good on
with
you.
the orange.
Yeah. Oh, I want to be seen.
All right. What's the over-under? I'm going to go with 5.5 hours.
You're pretty close.
Yeah?
6.
6 hours.
Yeah.
So,
6.
Evan doesn't really sleep that much. But, today, folks, I have a great friend of mine. He's a fellow Army veteran, but he was an officer in the Army. He's a true patriot. We first knew each other going to the same gym. Randy Lundy, ladies and gentlemen. Say hi, Randy, to the folks out there.
Good morning, Stuart and Treasure Coast.
Randy is a great guy. We have a lot in common. We're both veterans. We're both conservative Republicans. We don't apologize for that. Randy, I asked many people on the other side to come on the show to talk about their views, but no one ever takes me up on it. So I'm an equal opportunist here, and they don't show up.
Well, I've always known you, Denny, as an equal opportunity offender as well.
Well, yeah, that's true. I hate everyone equally, so to speak, as the saying goes. But no, I don't hate anyone. But, there's a lot of things going on, and I brought you in here. Randy also does music himself. What is the name of your act that you perform with, Randy?
We have a lot of acts.
Well, the main one.
The name of the group is Generation.
That's it.
Generation Gap Entertainment. There's 5 of us. We got 3 guys and we got 2 dolls. And we are a full Vegas kind of style show group, singing full harmonies of iconic songs of the past from probably almost 12 genres of music.
You all get into it. You get in costume. I mean, you dance together, you harmonize. It's pretty cool. I like it. And are you playing around town, or are you just still doing privates?
Well, we're doing around town privates, both. A lot of political events in the last couple of years. We've had the blessing and privilege to perform. But Denny, we do have something coming up.
Yes.
Here in Port St. Lucie, right around the corner.
Is that right?
That'll be on Veterans Day, the 11th of November, Thursday, 11 November.
Okay.
At Tradition in the town hall. We will be inside performing from 3:30 in the afternoon till 5:30 in the afternoon on Veterans Day. We're going to have a little patriotic music, a little tribute, maybe a little visit by Congressman Brian Mast, and then we're going to entertain the crowd for the rest of the time. So all the folks in the listening area, I do invite to come out to Tradition on Veterans Day. You've got Captain Randy, you've got Commander Jim, you have Coast Guard Keith, and you've got Navy Mom Stacy and Navy Sister Jocelyn.
Man. They're going to have to call security and the media on that gathering. And listen, we're going to play a golf tournament this Saturday for homeless veterans, right?
That's correct.
That's what, and can anyone show up and donate, or how does that work?
We would love to see that. It works this way. We've probably got about 20 foursomes, a scramble tournament at the Savannah Club in Port St. Lucie.
Okay. Starting
bright and early, like a good military officer would always want to do.
I better make sure I get some. I think I'm playing the night before. Yes, I'm playing at Conky Joe's on Friday in Jensen Beach. So when does the shotgun start? At 8?
8 a.m. You might want to get a hotel room then. I'm not sure.
No, I'll be fine. I don't like hotels. They say they clean the beds. No.
Well, the golf tournament's going to be really nice, Denny. And thanks for mentioning that, because your question was, can people come and contribute?
Yes, can they?
Yes, come to the Savannah Club in Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
There'll be the folks that are running the show while we're golfing. There'll be people out there collecting for donations. This is for homeless veterans, and we had a little discussion of that in the green room beforehand, but that's a real problem in America. Probably our estimation, as best we can come up with, is about 50,000 homeless veterans that are in America today.
It's so sad. I mean, what is it that happens? They have this job in the military. and then they get out and they can't transition. Like, look, you were an officer, so you're also in the medical field. You were in the medical field in the military, were you not?
Yes, I'm an Army Nurse Corps officer.
Okay.
Yes.
And so what are you doing now? You're in the medical field still, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Civilian world. Yeah, I'm an independent contractor. Run my own practice as a referral source for probably 5 or 6 registries.
So maybe a lot of these veterans, what happens is they have a job in the military that doesn't translate to a job in the civilian world. Like you said, what's a tanker going to do for a job when they come out? Or,
yeah, if you're an enlisted tank commander in the military and you separate from the military, and you were darn good at that job, Denny.
No, I was a combat signaler, but I was attached to 8-inch field artillery howitzer guns.
Okay, so there you go. So yeah. Denny comes off active duty. He's a signaler, and he's working with heavy artillery.
Yeah.
When he comes off and he separates from the military, goes into the civilian world, what job can Denny get signaling? Maybe on the tarmac at Palm Beach International?
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's me with the headphones on.
Well,
no, I play in a loud rock and roll band. It's just as loud. That's it. So, you know, in your medical field, we talked about this also in the green room. Now, look, I'm pro-vaccine. I'm anti-mandates. And the fact of the matter, in your medical opinion, if you've had COVID, you're 27 times higher antibodies in the vaccine, right? So what do you think about people who've had COVID, but yet they force them to have the vaccine on top of that?
According to the Israeli study that evaluated millions of people in Israel, yes, Denny, that's true. They did find that natural immunity as a result of recovering from COVID gives you up to 27 times more immunity as opposed to something, well, the mRNA vaccines that we're using now. That's correct.
Okay.
And I do not believe in mandates. No, I don't think it's necessary. With people who have COVID and have now, quote, recovered from COVID, or even those people, there's people out there, Denny, that have never tested positive for COVID. They've certainly been exposed many times.
As I have.
Been exposed many times as you have, even in your own personal situation.
Right. I never got it. I did get the vaccine, mostly because of Mom. But yes, I was exposed. Francine had it. I didn't get it. Her kids had it. I had some musicians. Evan and I had a guest here. We didn't find, man, we were sweating, weren't we, Evan? We were like, what?
Yeah, we were like on the phone within hours of like trying to find a place to get COVID tested, you and I.
Yeah, because the guy didn't tell us. I mean, he looked bad, right?
Yeah.
But then I find out a couple of days later, I talked to a drummer. Hey, did you hear about what's his name? I said, no, what about him? Oh, he's got COVID. Really? So I call him and I said, hey, bro, how you doing? He doesn't pick up. I heard you had COVID. I mean, were you going to tell me? So, you know, I quarantined for that time and I've never tested positive. I've also tested if I had the antibodies. I mean, but aren't our rates going down tremendously in the last couple of weeks? Isn't the trend going down?
That's very characteristic of this COVID SARS-2 virus. Very
it can
characteristic.
Go up and down.
If you look back to the onset of the pandemic almost 20 months ago, you're looking at 3 possible, well, depends how you define it. I'm thinking 4 surges of the virus.
Okay.
Whether it's the original virus or the quote variants that have happened since that point in time. And you're going to see about a 2-month continuum where you have an increase and a spike, and then you have a significant fall off. Here in Florida, for the past 5 days, we've had 5 days in a row now where we've been below 5,000 quote positive test new cases in the state of Florida.
Okay.
So it looks like every time we get a hit with a COVID surge, it lasts for about 2 months. It peaks at about 6 to 7 weeks. Then it drops off precipitously. And now we're in this little lull. We're in the valley now, Denny. We're in the valley waiting for something for the next surge to happen.
For the next surge, right.
And believe me, Dr. Fauci, the government, the president, they're all looking for the next surge. Why? Because they want to blame everything on the unvaccinated people who have had COVID, who've been exposed to COVID. 15 studies have proven that once you have been exposed, you do have natural immunity, and it's not necessary to get a vaccine because you don't need that extra immunity protection. As a matter of fact, last Friday, the CEO of Pfizer, Pfizer is one of the one of the vax companies that we're working with. The product that was used under the emergency use authorization by the government from day one was made by a company in Germany called BioNTech. BioNTech manufactured the vaccine for Pfizer.
Okay.
Pfizer's CEO on Friday came out and said, "Hey, I got some news for everybody." After about
I'm rich. That's the news. Thank you. No.
Thank you very much, America. At what he said was, after 7 months of being fully vaxxed, which means you've had your 2 shots, your immunity is now pretty much gone.
Oh, that's what I want. I want to continually take vaccines for the rest of my life.
Not a vaccine, according to them. They're calling it now a booster.
A booster. Potato. Hey, we're going to take a brief pause and boost our ratings with that last thought here. Thank you, Mr. Pfizer. May I have another one? All right, we are back on Today with Denny with my great friend Randy Lundy, fellow patriot, veteran, smart guy. Boy, you know the Constitution better than most people I know. But we were talking about, of course, the pandemic and everything. So you started talking about that Merck has now a 4-stage treatment that stops hospitalizations. Talk about that, because you're in the medical field yourself.
Yeah, Merck Sharp and Dome. It's big pharma.
Yeah.
So let's understand something first. Merck is big pharma.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the one that Fauci likes.
Yes.
Merck came out not with a 4-stage, Denny, but with a oral pill now.
Okay.
That has 4 different products combined into one pill.
Okay.
And we've been told that this shows very good promise. If you take the pill, hospitalizations for vaxxed and unvaxxed go down by over 50%. That's a pretty good number.
I would say so.
I would take. Would you take that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would take that.
Yeah.
Now, ask me what those 4 ingredients in this pill are.
Oh, please don't tell me the one that Trump was talking about that they said doesn't work. What are the 4 things?
You are prolifically correct.
What are the 4 ingredients
in this new Merck pill?
Yes,
the 4 ingredients are the evil
drum roll.
Drum roll, please. The evil horse product, ivermectin.
Okay.
The second product in that, vitamin D3,
which I take every day along with zinc.
The third one is, you just said it, zinc. And the fourth one is doxycycline.
Which is
antibiotic.
Okay. Like a Z-Pack, right?
Like a Z-Pack.
But what about the what was the drug that
hydroxychloroquine?
Yes. So there's still people saying that works and prevents you from getting a lot sicker. But this new one has those 4 components in it:
That's correct.
the zinc, the D3, the antibiotic, and what was the
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin. Isn't that what they give to animals?
Yes.
That's the horse. Yeah, Evan, that's correct, Evan. Yep, that's what we give the horses for parasites.
Gee, that's what the what's the guy with the what all the followers took on TV, and he was better in like a day or two.
Oh, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
He was taking it, and the liberal media was, but look at this guy, he's crazy, and like a day or two later, he's back to normal.
Well,
and
you and I know people personally who have taken hydroxy.
Yes.
Now, here's the funny thing. I just mentioned the 4 products in the Merck preparation for this oral tablet.
Okay.
Now, take out ivermectin, replace it with hydroxychloroquine. You still have the 4 drug combination that we said worked 18 months ago. We said hydroxy works in combination with
the
zinc,
yes,
azithromycin, and vitamin D3.
I've been, since this beginning, I had read that, and again, I've been exposed to many people who've had it. Thank God I'm not looking to get exposed, folks. I just find out after the fact. But I've been taking D3 and zinc, vitamin C and vitamins, and exercising, drinking water, and trying to stay healthy. A lot of people, they don't understand how important it is. But talk about Governor DeSantis also has some regimen that he's touting also that stops hospitalization. Does he not? Isn't he using some combination, or he's talking about that?
My argument as a healthcare professional, United States Army Nurse Corps officer, veteran, since day one of the pandemic, has been the focus has to be on therapeutics first and foremost.
Yes.
Therapeutics, basically, Denny, are what we use, are treatments.
Okay.
In English language, it's a treatment. Whatever we would use to treat something, a disease process with, that's a treatment. So Governor DeSantis has in Florida, probably for at least 5 months now, and correct me and forgive me if I'm wrong, Governor, but for about 5 months, we have now 25 monoclonal antibody treatment centers that the governor has established in the state of Florida. We have treated in Florida well over 100,000 Floridians free of charge to get the intervention, the treatment, the therapeutic of monoclonal antibodies. Now, it's working. We're keeping people out of the hospitals.
Okay.
Our death rate due to COVID in Florida is almost non-existent, even with the unvaxxed. This process was put in specifically for Floridians who didn't feel that they wanted to take the vaccine. So we needed to come up with some type of therapeutic treatment that could protect people from hospitalizations, from getting some severe symptoms and severe fallout issues from COVID.
Yeah, they're taking this before they get COVID. What about after they've gotten COVID? Do they work as well?
If you test positive for COVID, and you have mild symptoms, go to the monoclonal antibody treatment centers, people. I say this again. You can
find it online.
You can find them online, the locations. But if you didn't test, you don't need to test positive, Denny, to get the monoclonal.
Do you know about this too, Evan?
Yeah, actually, Phil. You know Phil.
Yeah.
Phil had COVID. And they came right to his house and gave him the 4 shots.
Correct.
His insurance paid for it. And within 24 hours, he felt like a brand new person.
Well, look at that.
Yeah. So again, Evan, let me reiterate. You do not need to test positive for COVID. You don't need symptoms.
No.
Or if you do test positive, like Phil, and he had symptoms, you can still do. So I beseech everyone in the listening audience, you've got options out there. You have options. Please utilize the monoclonal antibody treatment centers, Evan, that the governor has put in for use for people in Florida. Over 100,000 people have been there already.
Why don't they talk more about this? I don't understand it.
Denny, because it works, and it's not a vaccine. You have to understand the mentality of our government right now. The expert, Saint Fauci, if it doesn't come... The expert, Saint Fauci. If it doesn't come from Big Pharma in the form of an M messenger RNA ribonucleic acid compound preparation, it doesn't work. You can't. He has discounted therapeutics. He's discounted the natural immunity. God created man with natural immunity. How do you think in biblical times, the civilizations got over leprosy.
That's a good question.
They took they took the people that were afflicted with leprosy and made leper colonies. They sequestered the sick, not the healthy, not the working people. They sequestered the people that were affected. So leprosy ran within that community and it basically burned itself out. Everybody else in biblical times stayed out of the leper colony and they continued to work and engage in their commerce.
Well, it's interesting. The first round of this pandemic, or what did they call it? The flu of 1918, whatever it was.
The Spanish
flu.
Going on during World War I,
right. Now, this killed 60 million people worldwide and 600,000 in America, which that's got to be equivalent to like 6 million in today's, with as many people that we have living in the country now. And it ran its course. People got herd immunity and it went away. And I'm thinking, well, why can't COVID do the same thing?
It will do the same thing. The problem we had when we went for remember, let's go back. Evan, you remember this. We had the 2-week shutdown. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The 2-week.
Oh, yes. Right.
Yeah, the 2-week shutdown. Or 2-week
turned
pause.
The 2-week pause turned into 2 years.
Eternity.
The great pause.
The great pause, yes.
The great and powerful pause. Yes. So what happened was, just the opposite of what I said a couple minutes ago. We're talking about the people afflicted with leprosy going into colonies.
Yeah.
You never, in all my 40 years of being licensed in the medical profession, I have never, ever seen, and there's no reason scientifically to sequester 99.9% of a healthy population. When you let a virus or any infective agent just go unchallenged by our body's immunity, it's thank you. They're saying COVID said thank you. There's nothing here stopping me from spreading. I'm going to go and do what I can do. I'm going to get as many people infected as I can because there's nothing stopping me from doing it. So when we took healthy people out of circulation and we let COVID fester, that's what happened. That's why it accelerated.
Man, you better not let Google or the FBI hear your rhetoric like this.
Well,
they'll label you as a heretic, man.
Well, as long as I don't go to a school board meeting and object,
exactly right.
I think I'll be okay.
You'll be harbored as a terrorist because you're questioning science. How dare you? So, hey, what do you think? All right, I have friends from Buffalo.
Evan, I'm a domestic terrorist.
He's a domestic terrorist. He's questioning things. What about the face diapers? You think it works? Face diapers?
That's your buddy's term.
I know. I love it.
I love that.
The face
that's
diapers.
great.
So do you think masks really? Come on, you're in a medical field.
The only mask that I'll answer the
Don't
question.
worry, Governor DeSantis is not listening to this show that I know of.
At least today.
I
will answer that question.
Answer the question
based on science.
All right.
The only mask that works effectively, if it's fitted and used properly and disposed of,
I know where he's going.
Is an N95. That is it.
Yep.
Cloth mask, designer mask, Michael Kors.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's just not gonna work.
I gotta be fly when I'm protecting myself.
Yeah.
So that is really.
I have a question for him since he's in the medical field.
Yes.
With now the flu is upon us. Okay, it's flu season. What's your opinion on people now and going and getting a flu shot on top of being vaccinated?
Yeah,
the COVID shot.
That's a good question. I don't think we have any scientific data that's going to look at that because we've never had this situation happen yet. Evan.
Because I've gotten my flu shot every year, and now, I do take it. But I'm petrified now to go and get something else injected into my body. When I went and got the Johnson shot, the 1-shot deal, way back in March. I don't even know if it's effective in me anymore, to be honest with you. And there was a news article that came out yesterday that Johnson & Johnson is waiting for the FDA's approval for the second shot, the booster, which I'm going to run and get. I'm definitely going to get it because I feel that like my shot's worn off. That's just my opinion.
Well, if it's gonna work, if it's gonna give us the same results as the Pfizer vaccine, we're finding that the vaccines are basically just a therapeutic, Denny, that you get 6-7 months of immunity. But Evan, to answer your question about the flu shot, the flu viruses that we're accustomed with in America, that's another version of a coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never get the flu shot. I maybe have had the flu once in my life. I don't get colds. That could change, of course.
Now, what's interesting, Denny and Evan, is you can refuse a flu shot.
Well, I do all the time. When I go to the VA, my doctor asked, and I said, Doc, we've been through this. I never take it. You've been my doctor for the last 8 years.
My point is you're not being mandated to take a flu shot.
Well, that's true.
Right.
Yes. Right. Yes. I understand that.
Where opposed to with COVID, they're mandating. I mean,
right.
Look at what they're doing in California.
Well, you're losing healthcare workers. And
that makes me scratch my head. Think about it. These people are in the business. They've been treating COVID patients since day one, but you're going to fire them because they're not going to take the vaccine. They must have a good reason why they're not taking the vaccine.
Well, my college football coach told me, he said, Lundy, a pat on the back is only 2 inches away from a kick in the butt.
Well, they mandated it for who I work for, my other job over at the stadium.
Yes.
The New York Mets mandated it. They sent out a memo that if you are fully vaccinated by December 31st, you cannot work for the organization.
Franny works for Delta. She got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
They made her take the vaccine.
She was not
happy about it.
It was mandated.
Well, put it to you like this. They were penalizing her every month and taking away some benefits. So it's just a matter of time before.
Wow.
Well, see, that's
I know.
How do we approach this issue? We have so much tyranny that's going on in the country today, but it's a sad situation that even we're talking about mandates. The nurses were slugging it out in the hospitals, taking care of these COVID patients through the onset.
Yes.
And they were heroes. In fact, Denny, you remember nurses got free tickets last year to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
That's how much America thought of these brave nurses.
But now they want to fire them.
But now they want to fire them.
Or they're resigning because they're saying you can't work here anymore unless you take this vaccine. So I'm really curious. Do you know, are they saying no because they've had COVID and recovered from it? Or are they just against these vaccines? It makes me really scratch my head. How come so many in the field are saying, no, I'm not going to take the vaccine. You can fire me or I quit. Is it because they had COVID or is it because they don't like what's in the vaccines?
I think it's both. I think number one, they know that a lot of these nurses got COVID and they've recovered.
That's what I thought. That makes sense to me.
So the nurses, your Joe six-pack nurse, okay, who doesn't work in the NIH or the CDC or the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about those bureaucrats. We're talking about Joe six-pack nurses,
frontline workers,
frontline people.
Yeah.
So they feel, based upon their knowledge, just like mine, that they had COVID, they recovered, and they have natural immunity. We have 15 worldwide studies that prove that natural immunity is a legitimate phenomenon that is being rejected by the expert Saint Fauci. Number two, I have patients in my practice right now that I can tell you, adult patients that are suffering from severe neurogenic side effects of the vaccines.
Yes.
Neurogenic meaning nerve interventions in muscles. They have weakness, they have loss of use, and they're not happy campers. And this happened because they took the mRNA vaccines. Now, having said that, I want to say to Denny and to Evan and to the listening audience, I am not anti-vax. I believe in vaccinations. I believe in the scientific definition of a vaccination.
As I say, right. I'm not, I'm pro-vaccine. If that's what you want to do, I'm anti-forcing people. But you know what the argument is, Randy? Because I had a friend on the show, and he's a great friend. He's more on the left, and he knows I'm more to the right, but he's a great, intelligent guy. And so his thought was, well, if as I've been reading, most of the people in the hospitals, 90% of them are unvaccinated. So they're holding up the guy who needs cancer treatment or has a heart attack, and that's why they should mandate him. But then I said, but that's going against HIPAA rules and laws, forcing people to. And so then he said, what about when we had the polio? And your kid had to take the polio vaccine or they couldn't go to school.
Well, polio death rates in kids were as high as 20 to 30%.
Well, that's the difference,
when you have a mortality rate of 20 to 30%.
So that's
in
why.
A population. Yes. But with COVID,
it's 1.5.
We've had just over 600,000 American deaths in a population of 331 million people. When you look at science and statistics of science, that is again, you have a survival rate of COVID in America of 99.96, I believe, if I can do the quick math in my head, 99.96 survival.
Are you listening to this racist questioning science and statistics? You woke man, you.
Let me go back. Let me go back to the nurses with their situation, if I could, real quick. Thank you.
Absolutely.
These nurses know, and they've seen these patients with COVID on ventilators in the intensive care units. Secondly, you have to, when somebody asks a question about 90% of the people in the hospital are unvaxxed.
Yes, that's what they were telling us, that was the deal.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
If you go in, Evan, you go into the hospital, you had a heart attack.
Okay.
I'm not wishing it upon you, but Evan goes in with a heart attack. That's his symptoms. He has cardiac symptoms.
Yes.
He gets treated for cardiac symptoms. He gets diagnosed. In fact, he did have a cardiac event. And they happened to do a COVID test on him. And you know what? He's COVID positive. So guess what? Does he go down in the books as a cardiac event, or does he go down as a COVID admission? Evan, the answer is
COVID admission.
Bingo.
It pays a lot better.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And it pays a lot better.
The same thing with the deaths.
Yes.
Deaths. When somebody dies, and let's say you die of a heart attack.
Evan died of a heart attack.
No, they died of COVID.
But they test you for COVID and you're positive. Guess what? It gets registered as a COVID death.
That's correct. So we have government statistics that are looking. They're recruiting anything they can to create yet another COVID number. So this is what we have to be careful with. And but we're not getting the full truth, nothing but the truth. We're not getting that.
We never get it. Come on, man. That's just since the beginning of time that we can't count on what we read, what we hear, half of what we see.
and the second thing I'll talk about with this 90% of the hospital people are unvaxxed.
Yes.
The people that are vaxxed, they carry a high viral load on their body, which means somebody who's vaxxed gets exposed to COVID, and the COVID is trying to invade their body and infect them. And they're not having good luck because the person's vaxxed. So what's the virus going to do? It's going to proliferate. It's going to try to grow as much as it can, reproduce as much as it can to try to infect that person's body. So they carry a higher viral load, which means they carry more virus around than an unvaxxed person does. So when you have vaccinated people carrying a high viral load, they can just as easily spread COVID to anyone else while not having clinical symptoms.
Well, the other argument is, look, if vaccines work and I get it to protect myself, why should I worry about someone who's not vaccinated? I mean, that's a valid question, isn't it?
If someone gets a vaccine, that's their decision to protect themselves to the best of their ability that science has us to offer. That's their personal decision, and God bless them. And if somebody else feels that I don't want to take it for whatever reason, or I'm a COVID recovery person,
right? And
I believe the science I'm reading. I haven't had symptoms. I haven't tested positive. I feel good, and I'm confident in my God-ordained, in my God-created immune system of natural immunity. Therefore, I decide not to take it. That's America.
It used to be.
Yeah.
That's America.
Amen.
It used to be. We talked also about how they're spending money like drunken sailors on shore leave.
Are you talking bad about the Navy again, Mr. Army man?
No. I get drunken Army guys spend just as much, folks, and so do Marines and so do Air Force. But yes, the Navy guys, they got the raps because back in the old days, they'd go on shore leave after being in a ship with men for 6 months.
Denny, remember I talked about one of the singers in my group, Commander Jim?
Yes.
Commander Jim has been to 192 portacalls
in
his time in the Navy. And guess what?
What?
He has 192 fiancés.
So listen, we talked briefly also as a financial guy. I'm really scared about the inflation. I mean, you said statistically that you saw a survey that things are about a couple $100 more expensive for us from, let's say, a year or so ago. And that could be a conservative estimate. I know gas is now what, $3.16, $3.20. It was $1.90, $1.85 when President Trump left.
$1.85.
And the cost of everything keeps going up. To build a house the lumber costs more. Everything's costing more. And the other thing that they've just finished, which to me, I know people need a relief, but they just stopped the free rent last month, I believe. So all the landlords and owners can now evict these people, but who've been with them for however long it is. And I think they finally stopped the extra unemployment benefits, because a lot of businesses, they have to close earlier. They can't serve you because they can't find people to go to work.
Exactly.
I mean, how insane is that? He's like me. We're not on salaries, so to speak. I mean, this guy works hard. He has a DJ business. He's an announcer for the Mets. Years ago, he was the actual announcer for WWE.
Yeah,
in Cleveland.
Ago.
No,
3WE in
Cleveland. No, WWE World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh,
but back when it was the WWF. In the late 80s,
back then. Okay.
It was WWF back then. Yeah.
So, Evan and I talk about it and we joke. We go, wow, man, we'd like some unemployment benefits. Yeah. But, and they just stopped that like last month.
Yeah.
I think you said that people were, or someone was telling me that they were getting like $800 a week to stay home. Is that true?
It is.
Is that really happening?
It is really true.
You're getting unemployment in the state of Florida with the minimum is $254 a week.
Okay.
And then on top of that, you were getting $300. So now the kicker. Yeah.
Really?
So there were people sitting home that were making at least, well, I'm doing quick math.
Okay.
$2,200 a month. Sitting at home doing nothing.
Really?
At least minimum $2,200.
And the governor waived the fact that you had to report your job interviews and places you went to. The governor waived that factor out. It was not a requirement anymore. And it's still not a requirement when you go to file for unemployment. Because when you file for unemployment, you have to show where you've been. You have to go to a minimum amount of places.
You have to do at least five job applications or interviews per week.
Yeah, you got to show
per
effort.
week, and you have to report those.
That was all waived.
It was all waived.
That was waived.
Wow, what a system, huh? Don't worry about it. We're only going to affect the rich people on this. Don't worry.
Well, there's not enough money in the rich people that can pay for 1.6 trillion of infrastructure and 3.5 trillion of human infrastructure. And let alone, here's my question, Denny.
Yeah, what is your question?
If they're having such an argument and our illustrious president has told us that, this $5+ trillion that I want to get Congress to pass for me, it's not going to cost us a dime.
Nothing.
Then why do we have to increase the debt limit?
I could answer that directly, but we are on a family radio show, and I try and keep the expletives down to a minimum. And yeah, that's exactly right. And they're talking about changing a lot of things too, folks. They're talking about changing capital gains. I know that they're selling it that, hey, it's only going to affect you if you make more than $400,000 a year, or they say all these things. But inflation actually helps or hurts the lower and middle class. Let me tell you something that I've always found, because I'm in the business. Rich people, attorneys and CPAs, they figure out how to beat the system. I know a lot of people say, well, they don't pay their fair share of taxes, but their corporations and their businesses actually do. They stimulate the economy. But they themselves individually, they're like we said it in the green room, they're taking advantage of the laws that are passed by Congress and the Senate.
Congress passes tax exemption laws.
If they pass it, they find the loopholes to avoid the taxation. Look, what part of I didn't tell you, but I now have formed my own company where I'm the president CEO of Hydroxy Financial Group, because I'm now partnered up with a lot of CPAs and attorneys and people that are helping tax mitigation strategies. And they're talking about changing all that, doing away with 1031 exchanges and opportunity zones, which, again, this has been in legislation and law for years, how you can mitigate taxation, how you can defer it, or maybe you can't eliminate it, but you can minimize it. They're talking about, folks, in this bill that they're trying to squeeze through.
Yes.
Which I don't even know how many pages is in it. It's probably like 3,000 pages in the
2,700.
Right. So they're real good at passing bills that no one has really read fully through.
Like Nancy Pelosi talked about with Obamacare. Her comment on Obamacare back in the day was, well, we have to pass the bill so we can see what's in it. Brilliant.
She did not say that.
Yes, she
did. Are you quoting her?
I am quoting her. We have to pass. Well, I can't. I'm shaking my hands like she does. We have to pass the bill so we can see what's in it.
I swear when I see her, it's like she's drunk all the time. You see her like shaking, or she has Parkinson's or something.
She's over. She's 82 years old.
She is 82,
and she probably has some degree of some health issues.
Okay,
that could be.
I mean, I don't wish harm on most anyone.
We're not wishing harm on anyone.
No,
it's just,
absolutely
it's
not.
an observable fact.
So she really said, we've got to pass it so we know what's in it.
We have to pass Obamacare so we can see what's in it.
Okay. So, but the whole point is they're looking at changing a lot of tax rulings and laws that's going to affect a lot of people. Now, there's some things that they're going to do. They want to bring down the estate tax to about $3.5 million. They want to raise the capital gains. They want to perhaps limit and make certain portfolios of IRAs that you have to take distributions. A lot of things they're trying to do that we'll see if it happens or not. We're going to take one last break before we come back with my great friend Randy Lundy, and we'll be back on Today with Denny. All right, we are back on Today with Denny with Randy. I knew that this would go too fast. There were so many things that I wanted to discuss with you. But listen, because this is the last segment of the show. Let's talk. I don't talk too much politics, but it's really interesting. I wonder how many people who voted for Biden, who hated Trump, think he's doing a great job 9.5 months later. And if there's any buyer's remorse, so to speak. And you know the Constitution so well, and you were telling me that a couple of things could have happened in the election. President Trump just alienated enough with his, that movie "You Can't Handle the Truth," like with Tom Cruise.
A Few Good Men.
Yes, right. He ruffled so many feathers. They didn't judge him on the policies that he passed or where the country was, and I get that. So I said, well, maybe he just got so many that wouldn't normally vote, and that's why he lost. But then you see the fact that when Biden had a rally, there were 1,200 people in the audience. When Trump had a rally, there were 40,000. So and then I said to you, Randy, because we're good friends. I said, well, Randy, why did all these Republican governors deny that there was impropriety? If it was true, and there was and so you told me that there was a guy who found proof that it was rigged or stolen. And what was the gentleman? He was a former mayor of New York, or what was he?
No, his name is Bernie Kerik.
Okay.
And Bernie was at one of our a function last month.
Okay.
In Palm Beach County. And Bernie Kerik was the former New York City police commissioner.
Okay.
To Rudy Giuliani. So this was on 9/11, the meeting that we had. We invited Bernie to speak.
Okay.
Bernie was the police commissioner during 9/11. He was side by side in the hip pocket with him and Rudy as they were assessing and evaluating 9/11.
Okay.
When it went 2001 when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Bernie has said that when Rudy was involved and some of the operatives were involved in evaluating was there or was there not fraud in the 2020 presidential election.
Yes, because every court that they submitted it to, both federally and locally, they all shot it down. And then, like I said, I saw these governors say, hey, I wanted President Trump to win, but he didn't. And we counted it. There's no impropriety. But he actually found evidence and he presented it to courts, but I think you told me that they didn't even want to hear it.
Well, he found evidence. Yes.
Okay.
So Bernie Kerik did all the investigations for the those six swing states that were in question afterwards. So Bernie was the person who actually was the led the investigative arm.
So what did he find?
So what he found was a couple of things. There was a lot of impropriety with the mail-in voting. The mail-in voting that's a disaster. Mail-in voting, for example, in Wisconsin, the state legislature in Wisconsin never, ever voted to have mail-in voting. It doesn't exist in the state of Wisconsin.
But they accepted it during the election.
But they did it during the election.
I see.
Yes.
I know that Pennsylvania had changed the rules too, where rather than stopping the counting that night, they extended it for like 6 days. And I think that made a difference as well.
They extended it. They extended the mail-in count.
Yes,
beyond what the state legislature had written in law.
And they had changed that a few weeks prior to the election to make sure that it was they were able to do, to count 5 or 6 days later. So what do you think? You think President Trump will run again? Huh? You think he will?
I believe so. From all indications that
he doesn't want enough of this. I mean, I know he loves a good fight. That's part of his shit.
I think first and foremost, my comment would be the same. He is a fighter.
He is a fighter.
If you're going to call him out, he's going to step in the ring.
Yeah.
But if you're going to beat him, and you did not win fair and square according to the rules.
Yeah.
And he lost.
He's upset.
He's that I'm sure.
Can we say pissed on the air? Oh, I just did. Sorry. So that's why you think he's going to do it. He's like, well, you know what? You didn't win, so I'm going to beat you.
Well, I think what he's going to do is this is I told you so, Evan. Mm-hmm. Everybody was saying Joe Biden, the nice guy, the grandfatherly guy, the Mr. Moderate, 47 years. Everybody knows Joe Biden, and he's so friendly.
He makes Obama look like a conservative. I got to tell you.
But you have to understand. You have to understand how this happened, though. With Biden, how did he get to the point where he got to?
Who's running? Who do you think's really running things? I don't think it's him.
No, it's the Obama holdovers in his administration. Okay. He has a ton of Obama people. I think Susan Rice is big up there. I think Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, is there. And Merrick Garland, the Attorney General.
So I didn't ask you, but I bet you weren't a fan the way we left Afghanistan, right?
I've in all my years of being in the military and being involved in military operations, deployments, and homecomings and departures, I have never ever seen anything like this in my life. It doesn't even exist in the military command and general staff war college. That template that Biden and the 3s and 4s used,
unbelievable. Yeah,
never seen it.
I've never have either. Let's remove the military. Oh, we forgot about the people. What do we do now? Let's just let the Taliban help us out with that one.
Well,
I know it's not that simple, folks, but it kind of is if you look at it. And I know that I get we wanted to get out of Afghanistan. But, the other thing is 2,500 troops is not a big commitment to maintain stability. And that seemed to have been working the last 5-6 years. As a matter of fact, I don't think we even had a fatality or anyone attack us in Afghanistan for a year to 18 months.
There was 18 months prior to the Biden fiasco. That's correct.
Right. And it was 2,500 troops was doing the job.
That's correct.
Well, so you predict President Trump will run again?
I think he will. He knows that you got to give the man credit. Every policy that this gentleman went in force with taxes and with borders, and people, you know what they're not talking about anymore? The Abraham Accords. That was where he got Saudi Arabia. We're going to start partnering. We're going to network together. We're going to be strategic.
The Middle East was peaceful during his presidency. And again, the guy didn't run because he was the nicest guy. That's not why people voted him in. And I think it got to him. But if you just look at the policies that he put in place, I mean, our border right now is so out of control. And, they're not asking those people to take the vaccine.
Well,
they're shipping them off into different states.
Yeah, I got to say one thing, Denny, though. However, I had the opportunity to meet President Trump. I did drive in the motorcade.
That's awesome.
During his tenure as president. And I got to tell you, he is a nice man. He's very generous. He's humble. He's very appreciative.
No, what I mean by that is you can't just step over him like a. No, I admired that.
Yes,
about
he's
him.
a fighter.
Yes.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry, Denny. I misunderstood.
That's what I meant. Yes.
I misunderstood. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because you can't be. Look, Jimmy Carter was a very nice guy. How effective was he in the White House? Not very. They stepped all over him.
So Carter's probably the second worst president in my lifetime.
Yeah, I can guess who the first one is. But my whole point is, yes, one thing we have to say about President Trump, he didn't change. He was the same guy from day one to the last day.
That's correct.
He did not change for the time, should it be a chameleon or to be politically correct. And that's, I think, what got to people too much. They didn't judge him on his policies. Or maybe they thought some of his policies.
It was the Democrats did a very good job as selling him as the mean orange man.
Yes, exactly.
The Democrats do a great job of marketing, and the Republicans can learn a valuable lesson on how to market and create a sales
there's
campaign.
Something to be said about that. Oh my God, we're out of time, but you have to come back, man. We have to finish.
Thank
this.
you.
We're going to have fun on Saturday playing for homeless veterans. Man, you're a great friend, Randy, and I'm happy to be called your friend, man.
Thank you, Denny. Thank you, Evan.
Hey, everybody, make it a great day. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next week on Today with Denny.
The preceding was a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WSTU, its staff, management, and owners are not responsible for the content. Advisory services offered through Blackridge Asset Management, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Blackridge Asset Management is a separate and independent entity from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Member, FINRA, SIPC.